made the choice that they're afraid of being criticized. Like, the fact that she doesn't have a shoe is one of the dumbest marketing decisions in sports history. Like, it wasn't crazy when you watched Caitlin Clark at Iowa for somebody at Nike to get on the phone and be like, hey, we got to have a Caitlin Clark signature drop for her first game in the WNBA. Let's figure out what it looks like. And, somebody else doesn't have a shoe. Tough shit, all right? That's reality.
Nike dropped the ball again, and Caitlin Clark's fans are furious. Standing at 6 feet tall, Clark has been dominating women's basketball. She's won multiple prestigious awards, including Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, and several others. She's a 2-time All-American, a 3-time First-Team All-Conference player, and has been named the conference's Player of the Year. Caitlin is a 3-time assist leader, a 10-time won't miss leader, and a 2-time NCAA Tournament Most Outstanding Player. Not only has she set numerous records, such as conference records for three-pointers, free throws, and triple-doubles, but she also holds the Iowa State Fair shooting record. She's the NCAA women's all-time leading scorer, and now she's the new all-time NCAA leading scorer overall. Given all these incredible achievements, Nike had the perfect chance to honor one of the brightest stars in the sport. But instead, they completely missed the opportunity, and fans are not holding back in their disappointment.
Starting at guard, 6 foot from West Des Moines, Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, winner of the Staley, Sullivan, Wade, Lieberman, Naismith, Wood, and several other last name awards. A 2-time All-American First Team, 3-time All-Conference First Team, 3-time assist leader, 10-time won't miss leader, 2-time Tournament Most Outstanding Player, current even more outstanding player. Conference Player of the Year, Player of the Month, Player of the Week, Player every minute, owner of the conference 3-point record, free throw record, triple-double record, the Iowa State Fair shooting record, the women's all-time NCAA leading scorer, and your new all-time NCAA leading scorer, Caitlin Clark.
Nike's latest WNBA campaign was packed with talent, but Caitlin Clark was nowhere to be found. How do you forget the player who's breaking records, drawing huge crowds, and selling out arenas across the country? It's crazy that a league would overlook the one person in its 20-plus years who has the power to take them from being under the radar to the spotlight. For years, they've struggled to get the attention and funding they need, and now they have someone like Caitlin, yet they've missed this major opportunity.
At the start of this year's WNBA season, it was announced that Caitlin Clark signed a massive endorsement deal with Nike. This deal was for 8 years, $28 million with a signature sneaker included. Now, at the time, a lot of us were so excited about this. Nike is obviously the biggest brand in athletic apparel, and Caitlin seemed to be a perfect fit for the brand. $28 million at the time, while some people, including myself, were saying that this might be a little bit too low because of the superstar that she is, it seemed to be like a fantastic deal.
Was it just an oversight, or is there something more going on behind the scenes? It's hard not to wonder if there's more to this situation than meets the eye. Caitlin Clark has clearly earned her place at the forefront of women's sports, and overlooking her in this way seems more than just a mistake. The question is, why?
Yeesh, guys. It's wild that a league would do this to the one person in their 20-plus years of existence who could actually pull them out of obscurity and into the spotlight. For the last decade, they've practically been begging for money at every turn.
I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe.
Fans are absolutely roasting Nike on social media, calling out the brand for this major snub like never before. And honestly, they have every right to be upset. Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest names in sports right now, and fans aren't holding back in voicing their frustration.
Yeah, obviously got me pretty good in the eye. I don't think it affected me. Honestly, I felt like I got good shots. They just didn't go down, and obviously a tough time for that to happen. I got some really good looks. I felt I had three wide open threes in the first half that you usually make. So that's tough, but I felt like I battled and tried my best. Took care of the ball better than I usually do, which is positive. But overall, coached in the locker room. Like, we were down 3 in the first quarter, down 5 second quarter, and then lost by 3 in the third. Like, we were right there, and I felt like we just played a crappy game. Like, the flow of the game was really bad. I don't know if that was repping. It's probably partly us, because we struggled to get stops at times, but also, like, the clock getting messed up. It was just one thing after the next, but yeah, overall, like, it didn't bother me. Obviously, it didn't feel too good when it happened, but
They have a point. The internet is buzzing with frustration, and it's clear this isn't the first time Nike has treated Caitlin Clark like an afterthought. Fans are fed up, and it's becoming obvious that this issue goes beyond just one missed opportunity.
You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident. So be confident. You can't challenge. So challenge. You can't dominate. So dominate. You can't flex. So flex. You can't fill a stadium. So fill that stadium. You can't be emotional. So be emotional. You can't take credit. You can't speak up. You can't be so ambitious. You can't break records. You can't have any fun. You can't make demands. You can't keep score. You can't stand out. Whatever you do, you can't win. So win.
She's done it.
Let's break down the Backlash and why this could go down as one of the biggest marketing flops in recent history. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth looks at sports controversies and breaking news. Now, let's get into it.
There's way too much of everybody else and not too much of the person who I actually know. You can't fill stadiums, so fill stadiums. Sorry to be petty tendergrass over here. Of everybody that they showed in that commercial, no one can fill a damn stadium except for Caitlin Clark.
Nike's new WNBA ad aired during prime time, right after the Super Bowl, a perfect opportunity to shine a spotlight on the league's rising stars. Fans were expecting to see Caitlin Clark front and center, but instead, the ad featured names like Aja Wilson, Juju Watkins, Sha'Carri Richardson, and Sabrina Ionescu. Great athletes, no doubt, but Caitlin Clark's name was nowhere to be found. This wasn't just a letdown, it infuriated fans. Imagine leaving out the one player who has done more for women's basketball this year than anyone else. It's like dropping an NBA promo and not mentioning LeBron James. Caitlin is the reason the Fever's ticket sales are through the roof, and the buzz surrounding her isn't just talk, it's completely earned.
So she met with 3 finalists. Under Armour, Stephen Curry was part of that pitch meeting. I'm told the plan in that scenario would have been for her to be a part of Under Armour and Curry Brand and possibly wear Curry Brand. So Curry Brand is basically a standalone, kind of like what Jordan Brand is for Nike for Stephen Curry.
Smart by the Curry team, sure.
And so Steph Curry actually FaceTimed into the meeting, talked to Caitlin Clark, talked to her parents.
You got to show up in person, Steph. Like that.
Well, he's also got a season.
Seal the deal. Okay,
there's a lot going on.
Got it.
And I think Caitlin Clark, Stephen Curry, this is not the end for them.
The frustration only grew when fans realized Nike barely acknowledged Caitlin Clark even in her Rookie of the Year congratulations merch. For many, it wasn't just an oversight, it felt like disrespect. Fans are calling Nike out loud and clear, demanding answers for why one of the biggest stars in women's sports is being overlooked like this.
You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident. So be confident. You can't challenge. So challenge. You can't dominate. So dominate. You can't flex. So flex. You can't fill a stadium. So fill that stadium. You can't be emotional. So be emotional. You can't take credit. You can't speak up. You can't be so ambitious. You can't break records. You can't have any fun. You can't make demands. You can't keep score. You can't stand out. Whatever you do, you can't win. So win.
She's done it.
Unfortunately, this isn't Nike's first offense. Fans have noticed a pattern of Caitlin Clark being pushed to the sidelines in favor of other players. Juju Watkins, a talented but newer name, is getting star treatment, despite not having the same impact on the game as Caitlin. At the same time, AJA Wilson has practically become the face of the brand. While AJA's accomplishments are impressive, Caitlin is undeniably the breakout star. She's not just a player, she's a movement. Little kids want to be her, grown men are buying her jerseys, and her games have become must-watch primetime events. Yet Nike seems to be treating her like a background character in her own story. Fans are rightfully frustrated, as Caitlin has earned a spotlight all her own.
Wilson goes to Connecticut. That stadium is as empty as it's ever been. Juju Watkins plays home at USC. That stadium is as empty as it's ever been. Stop it. But this isn't what we're talking about, right? I just had to get that off my chest.
Fans have had enough of this narrative. Social media is exploding with posts like, "Why wasn't Caitlin Clark mentioned?" and "Nike keeps playing favorites," and it's clear, people are noticing. If Nike thought they could slip this under the radar without anyone catching on, they were sorely mistaken. The frustration is loud, and it's only getting louder.
Did you catch this? Here's how Nike just dropped a Super Bowl commercial after over 25 years that's got everyone talking. And it's packed with female athletes, including WNBA stars like Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson, showing just how they rule the game with their relentless grind. Now, aside from Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson, the ad also features other exceptional talents like Sha'Carri Richardson, Sabrina Ionescu, Juju Watkins, and Jordan Childs. With recent Grammy-winning rapper Doechii on the mic, the commercial drops a message that's as bold as a game-winning shot.
It's clear that Nike has a handpicked star strategy, pushing the players they think fit their brand image while overlooking those who don't fall in line. And that's driving fans crazy. Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball right now, yet Nike continues to spotlight players who aren't generating the same excitement. It's like if Nike had chosen to promote a bench player over LeBron James during his rookie year. That's basically what's happening here. While Nike may think they're making a bold statement by highlighting certain players, they're actually alienating a massive fan base. Fans are demanding answers. Why push players whose jerseys are gathering dust on store shelves while Caitlin's are selling out in minutes? Why ignore the player who's breaking barriers and setting records? Nike needs to rethink their strategy, because it's clearly backfiring. The moment that ad dropped, social media went wild. Twitter threads, TikTok rants, and Instagram stories all blasted Nike for their blatant disrespect. One fan summed it up perfectly: "It's like Nike is allergic to good marketing decisions." Another asked, "How do you leave out the most marketable athlete in women's basketball?" The backlash isn't just coming from fans, it's coming from analysts too. Industry insiders are questioning why Nike would sideline Caitlin in favor of lesser-known players, especially with Nike stock already struggling. This couldn't have come at a worse time. Even Caitlin's fellow WNBA players are subtly showing support for her online, hinting that this may not just be about marketing, it could be personal.
It's, what are the best ads of the year? And there was one that we wanted to highlight, but there was a Nike ad. It's the first Super Bowl ad in 27 years and featured a load of female athletes, including, one of the biggest episodes we've ever done, in Caitlin Clark.
I love Nike commercials. I've been a huge fan of, Caitlin Clark since she's been in college, obviously through the Olympics.
Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yep.
You can't win, so win.
Yeah. Speaking of all the things they say women can't do.
Yeah. If there's one thing I can firmly get on board with is telling a bunch of people who think you can't do something to shove it. I'm all on board with that. That's a great message by Nike.
I'm with that as well.
With some incredible athletes.
A bunch of familiar faces, yeah.
Gold medal winners, friggin' champion.
Caitlin Clark's impact on women's basketball is nothing short of revolutionary. Since she entered the league, viewership for WNBA regular season games has soared. Fever games are selling out faster than ever, and ticket prices are climbing to near Super Bowl levels. This isn't just hype, it's a movement. Her jersey sales tell the same story. Every time Nike releases Caitlin Clark merch, it sells out in seconds, with fans racing to grab anything featuring her name. Even those who aren't typically WNBA fans are tuning in just to watch her play. She's not just a player, she's changing the game. Nike should be looking ahead and recognizing the massive star power Caitlin brings to the... Nike had a golden opportunity to ride the wave of Caitlin Clark's incredible momentum, But instead, they chose to promote players who, while talented, aren't moving the needle the way Caitlyn is. It's a baffling decision, and one that's clearly costing them. Let's be real, Nike's marketing team dropped the ball. How do you overlook the player who's keeping the WNBA in the headlines? It's almost as if they're intentionally ignoring the most obvious cash cow sitting right in front of them. Caitlyn Clark jerseys alone could have been a goldmine for Nike. Instead, they're letting competitors like Adidas and Under Armour circle around, ready to swoop in. If Caitlyn signs with a rival brand, it could be game over for Nike's WNBA marketing strategy. Fans are already speculating that Caitlyn might go independent and launch her own brand, 22, potentially outselling Nike's entire women's line in just one weekend. The clock is ticking, and Nike's move, or lack of it, could have big consequences. Caitlyn Clark is more than just a basketball player, she's a cultural phenomenon. Her impact on the sport goes beyond the court, drawing in fans who wouldn't typically watch the WNBA. From her jaw-dropping buzzer beaters to her calm composure under pressure, Caitlyn has become the perfect example of what modern women's basketball represents: grit, talent, and marketability. Yet, despite being the face of this movement, Nike continues to treat her like she's just a blip on the radar. It's baffling that the brand isn't fully capitalizing on her star power when she's leading the charge for a new era in the sport.
Visit run Hip Hop Essential Indiana. For more information, visit HarperSports.com. Until then, please find home safely. Happy holidays, and as always, go on!
I got you. There you go. I don't have a Sharpie either. Where's that go?
It's not just sports fans who've noticed this, casual viewers and even people outside the basketball world recognize Caitlyn Clark's significance. Her games regularly spark trending conversations on social media, and memes of her iconic plays spread faster than Nike's PR responses. Caitlyn is a generational athlete, and the numbers prove it: record-breaking viewership, skyrocketing merchandise sales, and packed arenas every time she steps on the court. If any brand had a bit of business sense, they'd be riding the Caitlyn Clark wave for all it's worth. Yet, Nike continues to miss the mark, ignoring a once-in-a-generation opportunity to tap into her massive influence.
We had Caitlyn Clark here today.
Caitlyn Clark this morning.
I think you saw that. So she was in yesterday working on her signature shoe that we'll launch, and we're working on her logo and her design of her logo.
She signed an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal with Nike in April of last year, making it the largest sponsorship contract for a women's basketball player. What was the motivation behind that, and what impact do you think it'll have on women's sports, certainly on the WNBA?
Yet, Nike seems determined to treat Caitlyn Clark like she's a benchwarmer. Meanwhile, brands like Adidas and Under Armour are probably putting together lucrative offers behind the scenes, fully aware that Caitlyn could transform their women's basketball divisions overnight. If Nike doesn't wake up soon, they may go down in history as the brand that let the most marketable athlete in the WNBA slip right through their fingers.
Game, the defender right there's Clark working around Fletcher, Caitlyn Clark.
Let's address the elephant in the room, AJA Wilson. She's an incredible athlete with 3 MVPs, championship wins, and a signature shoe deal that represents her dominance in the sport. Nike has every right to back AJA, but the issue isn't about promoting her, it's about the blatant sidelining of Caitlyn Clark in the process. Why does it have to be one or the other? Nike's strategy seems to pit these two stars against each other instead of elevating both. Imagine the powerhouse marketing potential of a joint campaign that highlights the two faces of women's basketball, AJA representing established dominance, and Caitlyn as the unstoppable rising star. But instead of creating a unifying narrative, Nike has chosen division. Caitlyn's fans are noticing the pattern. Every time AJA gets a major campaign, Caitlyn is conveniently left out. This isn't to discredit AJA's accolades, she's earned every bit of recognition. But the reality is, women's basketball has room for more than one star. Nike's failure to capitalize on this opportunity feels like a missed chance, and it's a self-inflicted wound.
it would happen. It was a matter of if, it was just when. Now that it's here and we've had some time to kind of reflect back on the career of Caitlin Clark, you got to see it up close and personal. So did I. I know we were both so fortunate to be able to experience it in person. What's your biggest takeaway from the impact she's had on the game that still remains?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of different layers to this. One, I think Caitlin Clark played the game in a way we had never seen before. She combined an incredibly high-level skill set with an entertainment factor, with these deep logo threes. Maybe Steph Curry is the person we would put in that conversation. But because of that entertainment factor, she drew an entirely new audience to women's college basketball. You had to see Caitlin Clark play, whether you were one of the tens of millions watching.
Social media is a powerful force, and Nike is certainly feeling its wrath. Within hours of the ad airing, Caitlin Clark was trending across multiple platforms. Fans picked apart every frame of the commercial, pointing out how Caitlin's jersey was featured, but her name was never mentioned. Memes flooded in with captions like, "Nike's idea of equality, mention everyone but the best player." The backlash wasn't just confined to Twitter. Facebook groups dedicated to women's basketball were on fire with frustrated posts and shared screenshots. Even TikTok creators joined the fray, making videos that broke down why Nike's marketing mistake wasn't just tone-deaf, but downright disrespectful. Some influencers even called for boycotts, claiming that Nike's failure to properly acknowledge Caitlin was part of a bigger issue of favoritism within the sports industry.
Since the Marina Mabry trade, and she has stepped up her game in that opportunity. Caitlin Clark's